over the weekend that he saw thousands of Muslim Americans in New Jersey celebrating after the September 11th terror attacks. Trump first made the remarks at a rally Saturday and then stood by them Monday night at an event in Columbus, Ohio.
During a speech recently, I said that I saw in parts of New Jersey, Jersey City, but parts of New Jersey, I saw people getting together and in fairly large numbers celebrating as the World Trade Center was coming down, killing thousands of people, thousands and thousands of people. People are still dying over what happened to the World Trade Center, and they're dying a terrible death. And I saw people, and I saw them on television, and I made a mistake. So I have some good people. And they checked, and believe me, it's being cleared off, plenty of stuff. They don't like that.
Israelis 2911 is classified. I cannot tell you about evidence that has been gathered. It's classified information. Fox News has learned that one group of Israelis, spotted in North Carolina recently, is suspected of keeping an apartment in California to spy on a group of Arabs who the United States is also investigating for links to terrorism. Numerous classified documents obtained by Fox News indicate that even prior to September 11th, as many as 140 other Israelis had been detained or arrested in a secretive and sprawling investigation into suspected espionage by Israel.
And I saw people, and I saw them on television, and I read about it on the internet.
Donald Trump is doubling down with his claim that he saw Muslims in Jersey City celebrating on 9/11. At a campaign event in Columbus last night, he quoted a Washington Post article published a week after 9/11.
In Jersey City, within hours of two jetliners plowing into the World Trade Center, law enforcement authorities detained and questioned a number of people who were allegedly seen celebrating the attacks and holding tailgate style. Tailgate, you know what that means? Tailgate. That means football games, Ohio State.
Days after the September attacks, there were countless rumors about strange coincidences surrounding the events. One report about a group of Middle Eastern men spotted the morning of September 11th parked just across the river from New York City has not gone away. Investigation of their presence has led to questions about whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil. We're joined now by ABC's John Miller with an exclusive report this evening.
That's right, Elizabeth. This is a case that took the FBI and the CIA more than 2 months to sort out, while 5 Israelis waited in jail. It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me. You know, they didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? The men said they were just taking pictures at the time. They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind. In jail, the 5 Israelis were repeatedly interrogated and given lie detector tests. Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence community.
While there is still some debate among American intelligence officials,
by obtaining and analyzing data that's generated every time someone in the U.S. makes a phone call.
One sitting in safe, please.
Here's how the system works. Most directory assistance calls and virtually all call records and billing in the U.S. are done for the phone companies by Amdocs Limited, an Israeli-based private telecommunications company. Amdocs has contracts with the 25 biggest phone companies in America and more worldwide. The White House and other secure government phone lines are protected, but it is virtually impossible to make a call on normal phones without generating an Amdocs record of it. But it is virtually impossible to make a call on normal phones without generating an Amdocs record of it. The company is Comverse Infosys, a subsidiary of an Israeli-run private telecommunications firm with offices throughout the U.S. It provides wiretapping equipment for law enforcement. Here's how wiretapping works in the U.S. Every time you make a call, it passes through the nation's elaborate network of switchers and routers run by the phone companies. Custom computers and software made by companies like Comverse are tied into that network to intercept, record, and store the wiretapped calls. And Los Angeles, 1997, a major local, state, and federal drug investigation sours. The suspects? Israeli organized crime, with operations in New York, Miami, Las Vegas, Canada, Israel, and Egypt. The allegations? Cocaine and ecstasy trafficking and sophisticated white-collar credit card and computer fraud. The problem? According to classified law enforcement documents obtained by Fox News, the bad guys had the cops' beepers, cell phones, even home phones under surveillance. Some who did get caught admitted to having hundreds of numbers and using them to avoid arrest. Quote, "This compromised law enforcement communications between LAPD detectives and other assigned law enforcement officers working various aspects of the case. The organization discovered communications between Organized Crime Intelligence Division detectives, the FBI, and the Secret Service. Shock spread from the DEA to the FBI in Washington and then the CIA. An investigation of the problem, according to law enforcement documents, concluded, quote, the organization has apparent extensive access to database systems to identify pertinent personal and biographical information. When investigators tried to find out where the information might have come from, they looked at Amdocs, a publicly traded firm based in Israel. Amdocs generates billing data for virtually every call in America, and they do credit checks. The company denies any leaks, but investigators still fear that the firm's data is getting into the wrong hands. When investigators checked their own wiretapping system for leaks, they grew concerned about potential vulnerabilities in the computers that intercept, record, and store the wiretapped calls. A main contractor is Comverse Infosys, which works closely with the Israeli government and under a special grant program is reimbursed for up to 50% of its research and development costs by Israel's Ministry of Industry and Trade.
I would say this. Any effort by any foreign government to influence an American election is a direct assault on the Constitution. It's something we have always worried about, going back to George Washington's administration, when the ambassador from revolutionary France, Citizen Genet, came to this country and openly tried to build coalitions with people who wanted a more pro-French foreign policy, more anti-British foreign policy. This was a searing lesson for the early republic. And I think if the facts prove out that Russia did try to influence our election, they should face very grave consequences, both so they never even think about it again and so that nobody else ever thinks about it again.
What type of grave consequences? You know, the potential candidate for Secretary of State, Mr. Tillerson, in the past has been against sanctions on Russia. Would you support sanctions? What do you think we should do?
Well, that's why I say we have to know the facts here, and it's not at all clear to me, just viewing this from the outside, that this hacking into the DNC and the RNC computers was not a false flag operation. Let's remember what FBI Director James Comey said dealing with Hillary's homebrew server. He said, "We found no direct evidence of Foreign Intelligence Service penetration, but given the nature of this, we didn't expect to," meaning a really sophisticated Foreign Intelligence Service would not leave any cyber fingerprints. And yet people say they did leave cyber fingerprints in the hacks regarding our election. So the question that has to be asked is, why did the Russians run their smart intelligence service against Hillary's server, but their dumb intelligence services against the election?
When you say false flag, that's a very serious charge. I mean, false flag by whom? Here's the Washington Post. The Post reported the CIA has concluded that individuals with close ties to the Russian government hacked the emails. Intelligence officials have determined that Russia's goal was to help Trump win, rather than simply undermine confidence in the election. Are you actually accusing someone here in this administration of trying to, or in the intelligence community of trying to throw something?
We just don't know.
Evil is just, it can't be explained.
Are these people happy? Are they joyous now? Are they celebrating?
Oh, absolutely. They're
Thank
celebrating.
God.
There's one report, this has not been confirmed, but there's several live reports that there was a cell, one of these cells, across the Hudson River. And they got on this is the report, I emphasize, I don't know this for a fact, but there's several witnesses who say this happened. They got on the roof of the building to look across. They knew what was going to happen. Yeah. They were waiting for it to happen, and when it happened, they celebrated. They jumped for joy.
In the days after 9/11, while Ground Zero continued to smolder, millions heard Dan Rather and various media outlets repeat vague and unconfirmed reports of arrests that took place that day. These rumors held that Middle Eastern men, presumably Arabs, were arrested in explosive-packed vans in various places around the city on September 11th, and that some had even been photographing and celebrating those events. What most do not realize is that those reports were not mere rumors, and we now have thousands of pages of FBI, CIA, and DOJ reports documenting those arrests.
My binoculars, and I could see the towers from my window, and this is where I'm looking, and all of a sudden, down there, I see this van park, and I see 3 guys on top of the van, and I could see that they were like happy.
A major terrorist manhunt began, and just 6 hours after the attack, the van was stopped at a roadblock by patrolman Scott DiCarlo.
We were asked to detain the van and the passengers. They were just removed from the vehicle, patted down for safety precaution, and detained.
911 call at 410 Park.
I think once the FBI arrived, one of them stated that they were on our side. Something to that effect.
According to the police report of the incident, Sivan Kurzberg told Officer DiCarlo, "We are Israeli. We are not your problem. Your problems are our problems. The Palestinians are the problem."
Working for Urban Moving, a shipping and storage firm run by an Israeli businessman who often employed Israeli students without work permits. The men say there was an innocent explanation for what was found in the van and their behavior on 9/11. They were, they say, simply on a working holiday.
We heard in the news that one of the plane was crashing down the building, and we thought it was an accident at the beginning. So we went up to the roof of Urban Moving, and we saw the building burning.
There is a better view from a building in Jersey that is up a hill, a straight line to the World Trade Center. We decided to go up there. It's like
Is still trotted out when the story of the dancing Israelis is raised in the media, It is an easily demonstrable lie. FBI reports confirmed that the men were not taking somber pictures of a horrific event. When their 76 pictures were developed, they revealed the men had indeed been celebrating, smiling, hugging each other, and high-fiving. One of the pictures even featured Savon Kurzberg holding a lighter up with the burning tower in the background. Israeli TV that they had been sent there to document the event.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
Their purpose was to document the event? But how could they possibly have known what event they were documenting at that point?
Yes, we are beginning tonight with a story that's raising national security concerns as well as angry denials. Multiple surveillance devices found near the White House last year may have been planted by Israel, according to one report. But that drew swift reaction from the Israeli Prime Minister today. Jeff Begays has more.
I don't believe that. No, I don't think the Israelis were spying on us. I really would find that hard to believe. My relationship with Israel has been great. You look at Golan Heights, you look at Jerusalem with moving the embassy to Jerusalem, becoming the capital. You look at even the Iran deal, what's happened with Iran. Iran is a much different country right now than it was 2.5 years ago. It's in a much different position. No, I don't believe that. I wouldn't believe that story. It's good. Anything's possible, but I don't believe it.
Spying allegations against one of America's closest allies, Israel, is denying a Politico report accusing its government of planting surveillance devices near the White House and other sensitive locations around Washington.
Politico also claims President Trump was aware but took no action to punish the Israeli government. CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis is following the developing story in Washington. All right, Olivia, I am glad you are here. What can you tell us about this report and why Israel, one of our top allies, is appearing to spy on the Trump administration? I mean, if we think about some of the reporting, the president's more than willing to talk to Israeli representatives in the Oval Office about all kinds of stuff.
Right. So what more do they need to hear?
Right.
Yes. So this Politico report is actually the bookend to what had emerged as something of a mystery last year, which was when these surveillance devices, which are called IMSI catchers or stingrays, were first found near the White House and in other sensitive areas of Washington. But all that the Department of Homeland Security disclosed at that time was that it had found them. It wasn't sure who had put them there. So now, according to this Politico report, there's been this result of a counterintelligence probe launched into the matter by the FBI and others, and it has shown that Israel was behind the placement of these devices. That's based, it sounds like from this report, on an analysis of who was taking data off of them, because not all spy agencies can do this.